The massive crystalline spire of the Dragon King's palace stretched into the purple sky of Draconis Prime, its walls humming with ancient power. Inside the medical wing, Prince Zephyros lay dying on a bed carved from pure starstone, his once brilliant scales now dull and gray. The young dragon's breathing came in short, painful gasps that echoed through the chamber. King Valdrath paced the length of the room, his enormous form casting shadows that danced across the walls. His golden scales, each one the size of a dinner plate, caught the light from the healing crystals that lined the ceiling. Every few minutes he would stop and gaze down at his son with eyes that burned like twin suns, but even his mighty presence couldn't chase away the sickness that was slowly killing the prince. How long? Valdrath's voice rumbled like distant thunder, causing the crystal walls to vibrate. Chief Healer Azareth bowed her blue-scaled head low. The poison continues to spread, Your Majesty. Perhaps another day, maybe 2 at most. Her voice carried the weight of failure. For 3 months, she and her team had tried everything their ancient medical knowledge could offer. But the alien toxin refused to respond to any treatment. The poison had come from a failed diplomatic mission to the Void Sector, where unknown enemies had attacked the prince's ship. While his guards had fought bravely, one of the attackers had managed to inject Zephyros with something that no dragon healer had ever encountered. It ate away at his life force like acid, immune to their most powerful healing magics. Outside the medical wing, servants hurried through the corridors with their heads down, speaking in whispers. The entire Dragon Empire held its breath, waiting for news that never seemed to improve. Prince Zephyros was beloved by his people, known for his kindness and his dream of bringing peace between the dragon clans and the younger races of the galaxy. In the lower levels of the palace, far from the royal chambers, a different kind of activity was taking place. The cleaning staff went about their daily routines, maintaining the massive structure that housed the Dragon Royal family. Most of these workers were from client species, beings whose worlds had been brought under dragon protection in exchange for service. Marcus Chen pushed his cleaning cart down a service corridor, his human frame looking tiny next to the towering architecture designed for beings 20 times his size. He had been working in the palace for 2 years now, ever since Earth had signed the protection treaty with the Dragon Empire. The pay was good, and it beat the dangerous mining jobs that most humans ended up taking in dragon space. At 35, Marcus had seen enough of life to know that sometimes the universe threw you curveballs. His daughter back on Earth needed expensive medical treatments that his cleaning job could barely cover. But he kept working, kept sending money home, and kept hoping things would get better. The irony wasn't lost on him that he was cleaning a palace where the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy couldn't save a dying child, while his own daughter struggled with treatments that dragons probably considered primitive. As he worked his way through the medical wing, Marcus couldn't help but notice the tension in the air. Dragon healers rushed back and forth with urgent expressions, carrying strange devices and vials of glowing substances. Even without understanding their language, he could sense their desperation. Through an open doorway, Marcus caught a glimpse of the patient everyone was so worried about. The young dragon looked nothing like the powerful beings he had grown accustomed to seeing. Prince Zephyros appeared small and fragile, his breathing shallow and labored. Something about the sight reminded Marcus painfully of his own daughter during her worst days in the hospital. "You shouldn't be here." The voice came from behind him, speaking in accented but clear standard. Marcus turned to see a dragon healer with deep blue scales and tired eyes. This was Azareth, though Marcus didn't know her rank or importance. "Sorry, I'm just doing my cleaning rounds," Marcus replied, gesturing to his cart. "I can come back later if you need me to." Azareth studied him for a moment. In all her centuries of life, she had rarely paid attention to the service staff, but something about this human's expression caught her attention. There was genuine concern in his eyes as he looked toward the prince's chamber. "The prince is dying," she said, surprising herself with the admission. Perhaps it was exhaustion that made her speak so freely to a mere cleaner. "We've tried everything, but the poison is unlike anything in our medical databases." Marcus nodded slowly. "I'm sorry to hear that. He looks young. He is barely past his first century, still a child by our standards." Azareth's voice carried a weight of grief that transcended species barriers. "His father is struggling with the situation." Through the walls, they could hear the sound of something heavy being hurled across a room, followed by the king's roar of frustration. Even the mighty Valdrath was helpless in the face of his son's illness. Marcus thought about his own daughter, about the long nights in human hospitals, about the feeling of complete powerlessness when someone you love is suffering and you can't do anything to help. "If you don't mind me asking," he said carefully, "what kind of poison is it?" Azareth looked at him strangely. "Why would a human cleaner want to know about dragon medicine?" "I don't know anything about dragon medicine," Marcus admitted. "But I've spent a lot of time in hospitals. Sometimes fresh eyes see things that experts miss." He paused, then added, "My daughter has been sick too. Different kind of sick, but sick all the same." There was something in his tone that made Azareth reconsider her automatic dismissal. She had been working with the same team of healers for months, all of them approaching the problem from the same traditional dragon medical perspective. What harm could there be in explaining the situation to an outsider? "The poison appears to be artificial," she began, leading Marcus to a viewing window where they could see the prints more clearly. "It attacks the life force directly, bypassing all our conventional treatments. We've tried cellular regeneration, energy infusion, even temporal healing techniques. Nothing slows its progress." Marcus studied the young dragon through the transparent barrier. Even to his untrained eyes, Prince Zephyros looked like he was fading away. But something about the description of the poison nagged at him, reminding him of something he had heard before. "Has anyone tried treating it like a computer virus instead of a biological poison?" he asked. Azareth frowned. "What do you mean?" "Well, if it's artificial and it's attacking his life force directly, maybe it's not really a poison at all. Maybe it's some kind of program designed to disrupt his natural systems." Marcus felt foolish even as he said it, but the idea wouldn't leave him alone. The dragon healer stared at him for a long moment, her ancient mind turning over this completely different way of looking at the problem. In all their medical texts, in all their centuries of knowledge, they had always approached sickness as a purely biological phenomenon. But what if this human was right? What if they had been trying to cure the wrong kind of disease entirely? Azareth's eyes widened as Marcus's words sank in. In her 300 years as a healer, she had never considered approaching a medical problem from a technological perspective. Dragons were beings of magic and natural energy, not machines or computers. But this human suggestion opened up possibilities that her traditional training had never explored. "Explain this idea further," she said, her voice taking on a new urgency. Marcus set down his cleaning supplies and moved closer to the viewing window. "On Earth, we've had problems with computer viruses that attack systems in ways that normal antivirus software can't handle. They disguise themselves as legitimate programs and work from the inside out." He pointed toward the prince. "If this poison is artificial and it's bypassing all your medical treatments, maybe it's because it's not really a poison. Maybe it's a program that's hacking into his life force." The concept was so alien to dragon thinking that Azareth had to pause and restructure her entire approach to the problem. Dragons understood magic, energy manipulation, and biological processes. But the idea that someone could create a technological attack on life itself was completely outside their experience. "If you're correct," she said slowly, "then our healing attempts might actually be helping the program to spread, like providing it with more energy to consume." Marcus nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. And if that's the case, then you need to think about this like a computer technician, not a doctor. You need to isolate the virus, understand how it works, and then create a counter-program to eliminate it." Before Azareth could respond, the door to the medical wing burst open. King Valdrath stormed in, his massive form filling the corridor. His golden scales were dim with worry, and his eyes blazed with barely contained fury and grief. "Any change?" he demanded, his voice causing the crystal walls to vibrate. Azareth bowed quickly. "No improvement, Your Majesty. But this human has suggested a different approach that we haven't considered." Valdrath's burning gaze fell on Marcus, who suddenly felt very small and very mortal. The Dragon King could incinerate him with a thought, and humans were generally considered little more than useful servants in dragon society. "You dare to offer medical advice when my best healers have failed?" The temperature in the corridor rose as Valdrath's anger flared. Marcus's mouth went dry, but he forced himself to speak. "Your Majesty, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a cleaner, but sometimes an outside perspective can help. My daughter has been sick too, and I've learned that doctors and healers can sometimes miss things because they're looking at problems in unexpected ways." Something in Marcus's tone, The mention of his own sick child made Valdrath pause. The Dragon King understood the pain of watching a child suffer. It was a universal experience that transcended species. "What do you suggest?" Valdrath asked, his voice still dangerous but no longer quite so hostile. Marcus explained his virus theory again, watching the Dragon King's expression carefully. Valdrath was ancient and powerful, but he was also desperate. When your child is dying, you'll listen to any idea that might help, even if it comes from the most unlikely source. "This is not impossible," Valdrath admitted grudgingly. "Our enemies in the Void sector are known for their technological weapons. They might have developed something that attacks us in ways we don't understand." Azareth stepped forward. "If the human is correct, we would need to approach this completely differently. We would need to study the prince's energy patterns like a computer system rather than a biological organism." "Do it," Valdrath commanded. "Try this approach. What do you need?" Marcus felt a surge of hope mixed with terror. "I'd need to understand how your medical technology works, and we'd need to scan the prince's energy patterns to look for anomalies that don't belong." Within an hour, the medical wing had been transformed. Dragon technicians worked alongside healers to set up scanning equipment that had never been used for medical purposes. Marcus found himself in the bizarre position of directing beings who were individually more intelligent and powerful than entire human civilizations. The scans revealed exactly what Marcus had suspected. Prince Zephyros's life force wasn't just being attacked, it was being systematically corrupted by what could only be described as a hostile program. The artificial construct was using the prince's own energy to replicate itself, growing stronger every time the healers tried to boost his life force. "It's definitely a virus," Marcus said, studying the energy patterns on the displays. "Look at how it spreads. It's not random like a biological toxin would be. It's following logical pathways, targeting specific energy nodes in sequence." Azareth shook her head in amazement. "We've been feeding it every time we tried to heal him. No wonder our treatments made him worse." "So how do we stop it?" Valdrath asked. The Dragon King had been remarkably patient, allowing this unprecedented collaboration between his medical staff and a human janitor. Marcus studied the patterns for several more minutes. "The virus was sophisticated, but it followed predictable rules. We need to create a counter-program, something that can infiltrate the virus and shut it down from the inside." "Dragons don't work with technology in that way," Azareth protested. "Our magic is organic, natural. We don't create artificial programs." "No," Marcus agreed, "but humans do." He turned to Valdrath. "Your Majesty, I need to contact Earth. There are programmers there who specialize in this kind of problem. But I'll need access to your communication systems and permission to share medical data." The request was unprecedented. Dragons guarded their secrets jealously, especially medical information about the royal family. Allowing humans access to such sensitive data went against every protocol in the Empire. Valdrath stared down at Marcus for a long moment. The human was asking him to trust not just him, but his entire species with information that could be used against the Dragon Empire. It was a risk that could have far-reaching consequences, but in the next room his son was dying. "You have one day," Valdrath said finally. "Contact your people, but know this, human. If this is some kind of trick, if you're working with our enemies, I will personally hunt down every human in the galaxy." Marcus nodded, understanding the weight of the threat. "I understand, Your Majesty. But my daughter is sick too. I know what it's like to watch your child suffer. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, not even a Dragon King." As Marcus was escorted to the communication center, Azareth remained with the prince, monitoring his declining condition. The virus continued its relentless attack and time was running out. But for the first time in months, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. The idea that humans, a species the dragons considered technologically primitive, might hold the key to saving their prince was almost too strange to believe. But Marcus had already shown them something none of their healers had seen: a completely different way of understanding the problem. In her centuries of life, Azareth had learned that the universe was full of surprises. Perhaps it was fitting that salvation would come from the most unexpected source of all. The next few hours would determine whether human ingenuity could succeed where dragon magic had failed. And in a small way, the fate of relations between two very different species hung in the balance along with the life of one young prince. The communication center of the Dragon Palace was a marvel of crystalline technology that made Earth's most advanced systems look like stone tools. Marcus sat in a chair designed for beings 3 times his size, staring at holographic displays that showed star maps spanning half the galaxy. Dragon technicians had reluctantly helped him establish a connection to Earth, their expressions making it clear they considered this entire enterprise beneath their dignity. "Connection established," announced the lead technician, a silver-scaled dragon named Thorax. "You have your communication window, human. Use it wisely." Marcus's hands shook slightly as he activated the transmission. Back on Earth, it was late evening in Geneva, where the World Health Organization's emergency response team maintained a 24-hour crisis center. He had worked with some of these people years ago, when a computer virus had attacked hospital systems across Europe. Dr. Sarah Kim's face appeared on the holographic display, her expression shifting from surprise to concern as she recognized Marcus. "Marcus, what are you doing calling from Dragon Space? Is everything okay?" "Sarah, I need your help. And I need you to patch me through to the best computer virus specialist you know. Lives are depending on this." 20 minutes later, Marcus found himself explaining the situation to a hastily assembled team of Earth's top cybersecurity experts. Dr. Kim, along with programmers from Tokyo, London, and San Francisco, listened with growing amazement as he described the attack on Prince Zephyros. "You're telling us that someone created a computer virus that attacks biological life force?" Dr. Kim asked, her voice skeptical. "Not biological," Marcus corrected. "The dragons don't work with biology the way we do. Their life force is more like programmable energy, and something has created a virus that's hacking into that energy system." Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Tokyo leaned forward on the screen. "Show us the data patterns you've collected." Marcus uploaded the energy scans that Azureth had provided. The room fell silent as Earth's top programmers studied patterns unlike anything in their experience. But gradually, recognition began to dawn on their faces. "This is definitely artificial," confirmed Dr. James Morrison from London. "Look at the replication patterns. It's following algorithmic rules, not natural biological processes. And it's adaptive," added Maria Santos from San Francisco. "Every time it encounters resistance, it modifies its approach. This is sophisticated programming." Dr. Kim frowned at the displays. "But how do we write a counter-program for a system we don't understand? Dragon energy manipulation is completely outside our technical knowledge." Marcus had been thinking about this problem during the communication setup. "We don't need to understand dragon energy systems. We just need to understand the virus. If we can map its behavior patterns and create a program that exploits its weaknesses, the dragon healers can adapt it to work with their energy manipulation techniques." Over the next several hours, the international team worked frantically to analyze the virus. They discovered that it was indeed highly sophisticated, far beyond anything Earth's technology could have created. The virus appeared to be designed specifically to attack dragon life force, suggesting that their enemies in the Void sector had studied dragon biology extensively. "It's using a quantum encryption method," Dr. Tanaka reported. "The virus disguises itself by mimicking the natural energy signatures of dragon life force. That's why their healers couldn't detect it as foreign. And every time they tried to boost the prince's energy, they were actually feeding the virus more power to work with," Dr. Morrison added. "Brilliant and terrifying." Meanwhile, in the medical wing, Prince Zephyros continued to deteriorate. Azureth monitored his condition while trying to understand the technical concepts that Marcus's team was discovering. The collaboration between human programming knowledge and dragon energy manipulation was unlike anything in recorded history. King Valdrath paced the corridors, his anxiety growing with each passing hour. He had taken an enormous risk by allowing humans access to dragon medical data. If this failed, he would not only lose his son but potentially compromise the security of his entire empire. "Any progress?" he asked Azureth during one of his visits to the medical wing. "The humans have identified how the virus works," she reported. "They're working on a counter-program now, but adapting their solution to our energy systems will be challenging." As if summoned by their conversation, Marcus appeared in the doorway. He looked exhausted but determined, carrying a data crystal provided by the dragon technicians. "We have a solution," he announced, "but it's risky and we'll only get one chance." Valdrath's eyes blazed with hope and fear. Explain. Marcus approached the viewing window where they could see the unconscious prince. The virus is using quantum encryption to hide itself, but it has one weakness. It needs to decrypt itself periodically to access new areas of the prince's life. Force. Dr. Tanaka's team found a way to predict when those decryption events happen. Azureth studied the data crystal. Marcus handed her. And during those moments, it would be vulnerable? Exactly. We've created a hunter program that can infiltrate the virus during its decryption phase and corrupt its core functions. But the timing has to be perfect, and we need to deliver it directly into the prince's energy matrix. The technical challenge was enormous. Dragon healers would need to inject an alien computer program into Prince Zephyros's life force, with precision timing measured in microseconds. Any mistake could kill him instantly. I can do it, Azureth said after studying the specifications, but I'll need assistance from our best energy manipulation specialists. You'll have it, Valdrath promised. What else do you need? Marcus hesitated, then spoke carefully. Your Majesty, the humans who helped create this solution, they did it because they wanted to help save a child, not because of politics or treaties or anything else. They worked all night without pay because they understood what you're going through. Valdrath studied the human for a long moment. Why are you telling me this? Because if this works, I hope you'll remember that humans and dragons don't have to be just rulers and servants. We could be partners, allies, friends even. The Dragon King said nothing, but something in his expression suggested that Marcus's words had found their mark. As the medical team prepared for the delicate procedure, Marcus found himself thinking about his daughter back on Earth. In a strange way, his work to save the Dragon Prince had brought together the best medical and technical minds from both worlds. Perhaps some of that collaboration could eventually help other sick children too. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of Prince Zephyros, but potentially the future relationship between humanity and the Dragon Empire. Marcus had come to this palace as a simple cleaner, but circumstances had thrust him into a role he never could have imagined. Now all they could do was trust in the skills of dragon healers and the ingenuity of human programmers, and hope that their unprecedented collaboration would be enough to save a young life. The medical chamber had been transformed into something that looked like a fusion of ancient magic and cutting-edge technology. Dragon healers moved around Prince Zephyros in careful patterns, their hands glowing with controlled energy, while holographic displays showed real-time data from the human-designed hunter program. Marcus stood beside Azureth at the main control station, watching nervously as final preparations were made. The counter-virus program existed in a crystalline matrix that pulsed with soft blue light, ready to be injected into the prince's energy system at precisely the right moment. The next decryption. Window opens in 17 minutes, announced Dr. Tanaka's voice from the communication link to Earth. After that, we won't get another chance for 6 hours. The prince doesn't have 6 hours, Azureth said grimly. The young dragon's vital signs were failing rapidly. His breathing had become so shallow that even the sensitive monitoring equipment could barely detect it. King Valdrath entered the chamber, his massive presence filling the space with barely contained tension. Is everything ready? As ready as we can make it, Your Majesty, Azureth replied. The human programmers have given us a weapon, but deploying it successfully depends entirely on our ability to time the injection perfectly. Marcus checked the countdown timer one more time. 15 minutes. He thought about all the things that could go wrong. The program might not work as designed. The dragon healers might miss the timing window, or the virus might have evolved defenses they hadn't anticipated. Marcus, came Dr. Kim's voice from the communication link. How are you holding up? Terrified, he admitted honestly. But hopeful too. This is either going to be the most incredible medical breakthrough in galactic history, or a complete disaster. Well, you've already achieved something remarkable, Dr. Morrison chimed in from London. Dragons and humans working together like this has never happened before. Whatever the outcome, you've proven that our species can collaborate in ways no one thought possible. As the countdown approached 10 minutes, the dragon healers took their positions around the prince's bed. Each one would play a crucial role in the procedure, some maintaining his life force during the intervention, others precisely controlling the energy flows needed to deliver the hunter program. I want to try something, Marcus said suddenly. Dr. Kim, can you patch me through to my daughter? There was a moment of confused silence. Marcus, this might not be the best time. Please, I have an idea. A few minutes later, a young girl's voice filled the chamber, speaking in the common Earth language that the dragon translators quickly converted. Daddy? Where are you? You sound different. Hi, Emma. I'm at work helping a friend who's sick. Can you tell me about the breathing exercises the doctors taught you for when you're having trouble breathing? Emma's voice became more animated as she explained the techniques her human doctors had developed for her respiratory condition. As she spoke, Marcus noticed something interesting in the prince's vital signs. The young dragon's breathing seemed to stabilize slightly, as if responding to the rhythm of Emma's voice. Azareth, Marcus whispered. Look at his energy patterns. The dragon healer studied the displays with growing amazement. His life force is synchronizing with the audio patterns. How is this possible? Music therapy, Marcus explained. Humans have known for centuries that rhythm and sound can help stabilize biological functions. Maybe it works on dragon life force too. 5 minutes to the window, Dr. Tanaka announced. Emma continued talking, sharing stories about her recovery and the songs she had learned to help with her breathing. Prince Zephyros's condition continued to stabilize, giving them a better platform for the delicate procedure ahead. King Valdrath watched this development with fascination. A human child's voice was providing medical assistance to his son in ways that centuries of dragon knowledge had never discovered. The implications were staggering. 2 minutes, came the announcement from Earth. The dragon healers raised their hands, energy beginning to flow between them in complex patterns. The crystalline matrix containing the Hunter program began to glow more brightly, responding to their preparation. Emma, keep talking sweetly, Marcus said. You're helping more than you know. 1 minute. Prepare for injection window. Azareth positioned herself directly over Prince Zephyros, the Hunter program hovering just above his chest. The timing had to be perfect. Too early and the virus would detect the intrusion and adapt its defenses. Too late, and the encryption window would close. 30 seconds. Mark your positions. The chamber fell silent except for Emma's gentle voice continuing her story about a butterfly she had seen outside her hospital window. The prince's breathing remained steady, synchronized with her rhythm. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Azareth drove the crystalline matrix directly into Prince Zephyros's energy matrix. The chamber exploded with light as dragon magic met human programming in a fusion that had never existed before. The Hunter program raced through the prince's life force, seeking the virus's vulnerable decryption processes. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the monitoring displays began showing rapid changes in the prince's energy patterns. The virus, caught in its vulnerable state, was being systematically dismantled by the Hunter program. It's working. Dr. Tanaka's voice came through the communication link with excitement. The virus signature is collapsing. But the procedure was far from over. As the Hunter program did its work, it created energy instabilities that threatened to overwhelm the prince's already weakened system. The dragon healers worked frantically to maintain balance, pouring their own life force into stabilizing patterns. His energy levels are dropping too fast, one of the healers reported with concern. Marcus watched the displays with growing alarm. They were winning the battle against the virus, but the prince might not survive the cure. Emma, can you sing that lullaby Mom used to sing when you were really sick? Emma's clear voice filled the chamber with a gentle melody that seemed to wrap around Prince Zephyros like a healing blanket. The stabilizing effect was immediate and profound. His energy levels stopped dropping and began to climb slowly back toward normal ranges. Incredible, Azareth whispered. Human vocal therapy is providing energy stabilization that our techniques alone couldn't achieve. The virus continued to break down under the Hunter program's assault. After what felt like hours but was actually only minutes, the displays showed clear confirmation. The hostile program was completely eliminated. Prince Zephyros's eyes fluttered open for the first time in days. His scales, which had been dull and gray, began to show hints of their natural silver coloring. The young dragon looked around the chamber with confusion but growing awareness. Father? His voice was weak but clear. King Valdrath rushed to his son's side, tears of relief streaming down his massive face. I'm here, my son. You're safe now. The dragon healers continued their work, but their efforts were now focused on restoration, rather than desperate life-saving measures. The prince's natural healing abilities, freed from the virus's interference, began to restore his strength rapidly. "Thank you, Emma," Marcus said into the communication link. "You helped save a prince today." "Really, Daddy? That's so cool. Is he going to be okay now?" Marcus looked at Prince Zephyros, who was sitting up and speaking with his father, his scales growing brighter by the minute. "Yes, sweetheart. I think he's going to be just fine." As the immediate crisis passed, Marcus realized that something fundamental had changed in the relationship between humans and dragons. They had proven that their two species could work together not just as rulers and servants, but as equals contributing unique strengths to solve impossible problems. The Dragon King's grateful gaze met Marcus's across the chamber, and in that moment, both understood that this day had changed more than just one young prince's fate. 3 days after the successful treatment, Prince Zephyros was not only recovering but showing signs of being healthier than he had been before the attack. The virus, in attempting to corrupt his life force, had inadvertently strengthened certain energy pathways that were now functioning better than ever. Dragon healers were amazed by the unexpected side effects of the human-designed hunter program. Marcus continued his cleaning duties, but everything had changed. Dragons who had previously ignored him now nodded respectfully when he passed. Some even stopped to ask about human medical techniques or to share their gratitude for his role in saving their prince. "The king wishes to see you," Azureth informed him as he was finishing his rounds in the medical wing. In the throne room, Marcus felt his stomach twist with nervousness. Being summoned to the throne room could mean anything from a reward to an execution, depending on the monarch's mood. He had heard stories about the Dragon King's legendary temper. The throne room was even more impressive than Marcus had imagined. Crystalline walls soared hundreds of feet overhead, covered in murals that depicted the history of the Dragon Empire. King Valdrath sat on a throne carved from a single massive diamond, his golden scales reflecting the light from 1,000 energy crystals. "Approach," Valdrath commanded, his voice echoing through the vast space. Marcus walked forward, very aware of how small he looked in the enormous chamber. When he reached the appropriate distance, he bowed as he had been taught. "Marcus Chen of Earth," the Dragon King began formally, "you have served my family and my empire in ways that go far beyond your assigned duties. You have shown wisdom, courage, and compassion that honor both your species and mine." Marcus remained silent, unsure if he was expected to respond. "I have been in communication with your Earth leaders," Valdrath continued. "We have discussed new arrangements that would benefit both our peoples. But first, I have a question for you personally." "Yes, Your Majesty?" "Your daughter requires medical treatment that is expensive by human standards but trivial by dragon measures. Why did you not simply ask for assistance? Any member of my staff could have provided the resources you needed." Marcus considered his answer carefully. "Your Majesty, I didn't think it was appropriate to ask for help with personal problems while I was here to work. And honestly, I didn't think dragons would care about human medical issues." Valdrath studied him intently. "You chose to maintain your dignity and independence rather than seek charity. I respect that. But you also chose to help my son despite having no obligation to do so, and despite the risks to yourself. That deserves recognition," the Dragon King gestured, and Azureth stepped forward carrying an ornate crystal case. "This contains enough credits to cover your daughter's medical treatments for the rest of her life," Valdrath announced. "It also contains something else. A communication crystal that will allow direct contact between Earth's medical researchers and our healers. Your species' approach to problem-solving has proven valuable." Marcus stared at the crystal case, hardly able to believe what he was hearing. "Your Majesty, I don't know what to say. Say nothing. This is not charity. It is payment for services rendered and an investment in future cooperation." Valdrath's expression grew more serious. "But I have a larger proposal for you, Marcus Chen. One that would require a significant commitment." "I'm listening." "Your Majesty, I want to establish a new position in my administration. A human liaison who would facilitate cooperation between our species in matters of science, medicine, and technology. The position would require you to travel between Earth and Dragon space regularly, working with both governments to identify areas where our different approaches could benefit both peoples." The offer was beyond anything Marcus had ever imagined. "Your Majesty, I'm honored, but I'm just a cleaner. I don't have the education or experience for something like that. You have something more valuable than formal education, Valdrath replied. You have the ability to see problems from a completely different perspective. You proved that when you saved my son's life. And you have the trust of both species. Dragons respect your courage and integrity, while humans know you understand their needs and limitations. Marcus thought about his daughter, about the future this opportunity could provide for her and for humanity as a whole. What would this position involve exactly? Azareth stepped forward to explain. You would work with both human and dragon medical teams to develop new treatments that combine our magical healing abilities with human technological approaches. You would also help identify other areas where cooperation could be beneficial, perhaps in engineering, agriculture, or space exploration. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Valdrath added. The Void Sector attack on my son proves that there are enemies who wish to harm both our species. Together we are stronger than either of us could be alone. Before Marcus could respond, another voice spoke from the entrance to the throne room. Father, you should also tell him about the other benefits. Prince Zephyros entered the chamber, walking steadily though, still showing signs of his recent illness. The young dragon looked much smaller than his father but carried himself with similar dignity. Zephyros, you should be resting, Valdrath said with concern. I'm fine, father. Better than fine, actually. The prince approached Marcus and bowed slightly, an unprecedented gesture of respect from dragon royalty to a human. I wanted to thank you personally, Marcus Chen. Azareth told me about your daughter and how her voice helped stabilize my energy during the treatment. Your Highness, she was just talking. I don't think she understood what was happening. Perhaps not consciously, but her compassion came through clearly. I would like to meet her someday if that would be acceptable. Marcus was overwhelmed by the kindness in the young prince's voice. I think she would like that very much, Your Highness. The other benefit my son mentioned, Valdrath continued, is that this position would come with full diplomatic immunity and access to dragon medical facilities. Your daughter could receive treatment here if needed, using the combined knowledge of both our species. The offer was everything Marcus could have hoped for and more. It would secure his daughter's future, provide incredible opportunities for both species, and allow him to continue the work that had saved Prince Zephyros. I accept, Your Majesty. I would be honored to serve in this capacity. Excellent. Valdrath's expression showed something that might have been a smile. Your first assignment will be to return to Earth and work with your medical teams to document the techniques we developed for treating the virus. That information needs to be shared with both our peoples in case our enemies attempt similar attacks in the future. There's one more thing, Prince Zephyros added. I've been thinking about what happened, and I believe the attack on me was not random. The virus was too specifically designed to target dragon life force. Our enemies studied us very carefully before creating it. What are you suggesting? Valdrath asked with concern. That they may have similar weapons designed to attack humans or other species in the Alliance. If Marcus is going to be traveling between worlds, we need to make sure he and others are protected. The implications of the prince's words were sobering. The successful treatment had solved the immediate crisis, but it had also revealed the existence of enemies with sophisticated biological weapons capabilities. We'll need to establish medical monitoring stations throughout the Alliance, Marcus suggested. Places where different species can share information about unusual illnesses or attacks. Agreed, Valdrath said. That will be your second assignment. Marcus Chen, work with our allies to create an early warning system for biological and technological attacks. As Marcus left the throne room carrying the crystal case that would change his and his daughter's lives forever, he reflected on the strange turns that fate could take. A few days ago, he had been a simple cleaner, worried about paying for his daughter's medical bills. Now he was a diplomatic liaison between two of the galaxy's most powerful species, tasked with protecting the Alliance from unknown threats. But more importantly, he had learned that the barriers between species were not as insurmountable as they appeared. Human ingenuity and dragon wisdom could complement each other in ways that made both stronger. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years, Marcus felt truly hopeful about what lay ahead. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the newly constructed Interspecies Medical Center on Luna Station, watching as human doctors and dragon healers worked side by side to treat patients from across the galaxy. The facility represented everything he had hoped to achieve when he accepted his position as human liaison, a place where different species medical knowledge could be combined to help anyone who needed it. The Centauri delegation has arrived, announced Dr. Sarah Kim, who had transferred from Earth to help run the center. They're very interested in the quantum healing protocols we developed from the prince's treatment. Marcus nodded, adjusting his new diplomatic uniform. It still felt strange to wear formal clothes instead of his cleaning coveralls. But his role had evolved far beyond what anyone had originally envisioned. The medical breakthroughs achieved through human-dragon cooperation had attracted attention from species throughout the Alliance. "How is the early warning system performing?" he asked. "Remarkably well. We've detected and prevented 3 potential biological attacks in the past month alone," Dr. Kim reported. "The Void Sector forces seem to have shifted their tactics since we exposed their virus capabilities." Through the observation window, Marcus could see his daughter Emma working with a young Centauri patient. Her own medical treatments had been so successful that she had decided to become a xenobiologist, specializing in interspecies healing techniques. At 14, she was already showing remarkable intuition for understanding how different species' biological systems could work together. "Daddy, come see this," Emma called out, waving him over to her workstation. Marcus approached, followed by Dr. Kim and Azureth, who had also taken a position at the medical center. The patient was a young Centauri whose species was known for their crystalline, bone structure and silicon-based biochemistry. "Keth here has a fracture that won't heal using standard Centauri medical techniques," Emma explained. "But I think we can adapt the energy manipulation methods that helped Prince Zephyros." The young Centauri patient looked nervous. "My doctors said the fracture was too complex for conventional treatment. They suggested amputation." "We're going to try something different," Emma said with confidence that reminded Marcus of her mother. "Dragons use energy manipulation to heal biological systems, but your people use harmonic resonance to maintain your crystal matrices. If we can combine both approaches..." Marcus watched with pride as his daughter worked with Azureth to develop a hybrid treatment plan. The dragon healer provided precise energy control, while Emma used harmonic frequencies to guide the healing process. Within an hour, the Centauri patient's fracture began to show signs of repair that would have been impossible with either technique alone. "Remarkable," murmured Dr. Kim. "Your daughter has an extraordinary gift for seeing connections between different medical systems. She learned it from watching others suffer," Marcus replied. "Sometimes the best healers are people who understand what it means to need healing." A chime from his communication device interrupted the moment. "Marcus, please report to the diplomatic wing immediately," came the voice of Admiral Chen, no relation, the station commander. Marcus made his way through the station's corridors, noting how different species moved together with easy familiarity that would have been impossible just months earlier. The medical cooperation had created ripple effects throughout the Alliance, breaking down barriers that had existed for centuries. In the diplomatic wing, he found an unexpected sight. Prince Zephyros standing beside a holographic display showing star charts of the Void Sector. The young dragon had grown significantly since his recovery, and his scales now shone with vibrant silver-blue coloration that indicated perfect health. "Your Highness, I wasn't expecting you," Marcus said, bowing appropriately. "The situation has become more serious than we anticipated," Zephyros replied gravely. "We've discovered that the virus used to attack me was only a test. Our enemies are preparing something much worse." Admiral Chen activated the holographic display, showing recent intelligence data. "Our scouts have detected massive biological weapons facilities in the Void Sector. They appear to be developing viruses specifically designed to attack each species in our alliance." "How specific?" Marcus asked with growing concern. "Extremely specific. They have samples of genetic material from humans, dragons, Centauri, and at least 6 other species. Each virus is designed to be perfectly lethal to its target species while being harmless to others." The implications were terrifying. If deployed successfully, these weapons could eliminate entire species while leaving their allies unharmed. It was genocide on a scale that the galaxy had never seen. "What's our response?" Marcus asked. "That's where you come in," Prince Zephyros said. "The Alliance leadership wants to launch a preemptive strike to destroy the weapons facilities. But we need someone who understands both the medical and technological aspects of what we're facing. You want me to go to the Void Sector? We want you to lead a specialized team that includes the best medical experts from each species, Admiral Chen explained. If we can understand how these viruses work, we might be able to develop universal countermeasures. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. When do we leave? 3 days. The team is already being assembled, including volunteers from the medical center staff. I volunteer too, came Emma's voice from the doorway. She had apparently followed him from the medical wing. Absolutely not, Marcus said immediately. You're 14 years old, and this is a military mission. I'm also the only person who has successfully combined healing techniques from 3 different species, Emma replied with determination that was becoming familiar. And I understand the virus better than anyone except the people who created it. Prince Zephyros studied the young human thoughtfully. She makes a valid point. Her unique perspective could be crucial to our success. It's too dangerous, Marcus protested. Daddy, every day that we delay, our enemies get closer to completing their weapons. How many children from how many species will die if we fail because we were too cautious? Emma's voice carried a maturity that reminded Marcus she had grown up fighting her own medical battles. Admiral Chen looked between father and daughter with understanding. The final decision rests with the mission commander, which is you, Marcus. But I will say that some of our greatest breakthroughs have come from taking calculated risks. Marcus thought about all the impossible things that had happened since he first suggested treating the prince's condition like a computer virus. Every major breakthrough had required someone to think beyond conventional limitations. If she comes, she stays on the ship during any combat operations, he said finally. And she works only on the medical analysis, nothing else. Emma's face lit up with excitement. I promise, Daddy, I'll be careful. The mission briefing is tomorrow at 800, Admiral Chen announced. You'll have full access to all intelligence we've gathered about the Void Sector facilities. As they left the diplomatic wing, Prince Zephyros walked beside Marcus. Your daughter reminds me of myself at that age. Convinced that youth and intelligence can overcome any obstacle. That's what worries me, Marcus replied. Perhaps it should give you hope instead. After all, it was unconventional thinking that saved my life. Sometimes the most dangerous enemies can only be defeated by those who are willing to see problems differently. Marcus knew the prince was right, but that didn't make it easier to accept that his daughter would be risking her life alongside him. The stakes had grown far beyond saving one sick child. Now they were fighting to protect entire species from extinction. But as he watched Emma excitedly discussing the mission with Azareth and Dr. Kim, Marcus realized that this was exactly what they had been training for. The medical center hadn't just been about treating patients, it had been preparing them for the larger battle that was coming. The next phase of the Human-Dragon Alliance was about to begin, and this time, the entire galaxy was counting on their success. The Alliance fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Void Sector, a region of space where ancient stellar disasters had left behind twisted gravitational fields and radiation storms that made conventional navigation nearly impossible. Marcus stood on the bridge of the medical ship Harmony, watching as the massive dragon dreadnought Valdrath's Flame took point position alongside sleek human destroyers and crystalline Centauri cruisers, scanning the target facility now. Reported the ship's hiding confirmed presence of biological weapons. Laboratories on the asteroid complex designated Void Station Alpha, Emma, worked alongside Azareth at the medical analysis station, their equipment scanning for any traces of the viruses they knew were being developed. The past 3 days had been intensive, with the team studying every piece of intelligence available about their enemy's capabilities. The energy signatures are similar to what we detected in Prince Zephyros, Emma announced. But there are at least 12 different variants. Each one appears to be calibrated for a specific species, including humans and dragons, Azareth added grimly. These weapons could devastate our alliance if deployed successfully. Prince Zephyros, who had insisted on joining the mission despite his father's concerns, studied the tactical displays. The station's defenses are formidable, but they're designed to repel conventional attacks. They may not be prepared for our combined approach. The battle plan was unlike anything in military history. Instead of simply destroying the facilities, they intended to capture them intact so that the medical team could study the viruses and develop countermeasures. It required perfect coordination between species with completely different fighting styles. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, came the announcement across the fleet communications. Begin assault pattern Delta. Medical teams, prepare for boarding operations. The attack began with Dragon ships using their natural energy manipulation abilities to disrupt the station's power systems. Simultaneously, human vessels deployed electronic warfare packages that confused the automated defense systems. Centauri ships used harmonic weapons to create structural weaknesses in the station's armor. They're adapting faster than expected, reported the tactical officer. The station's AI is learning from our attack patterns. Then we give it something it can't learn from, Marcus said. He activated the communication system. All medical ships implement Protocol Healing Storm. It was a strategy they had developed during their preparations, using medical scanning equipment as an offensive weapon. The powerful sensors designed to analyze biological systems were redirected to map the internal structure of the enemy station in real time, providing targeting data that conventional military scanners couldn't match. Direct hit on Laboratory Complex 7, announced the weapons officer, but the biological containment systems are still intact. That's what we want, Emma said. If we destroy the viruses, we can't study them to develop countermeasures. The battle continued for 2 hours before the station's defenses finally collapsed. Alliance boarding teams, led by Dragon warriors and human marines, fought their way through the facility, while medical teams followed close behind to secure the laboratory sections. This is incredible. Dr. Kim's voice came through the communication system from inside the station. They have samples from over 30 species. This wasn't just about our alliance. They were planning to attack every major civilization in the galaxy. Marcus and Emma were among the first medical personnel to enter the main laboratory complex. The facility was vast, with sections devoted to different aspects of biological warfare. Some areas focused on virus development, others on delivery systems, and still others on what appeared to be countermeasures for the attacker's own species. Look at this, Emma called out, studying a series of containment units. They have live samples of the virus that attacked Prince Zephyros, but also dozens of variants. It's like they were breeding them. Azareth examined the containment systems with professional interest. The technology is remarkably sophisticated. They've managed to create hybrid biological technological weapons that adapt to their targets in real time, which means our countermeasures need to be just as adaptive, Marcus realized. We can't just create static vaccines or treatments. We need something that can evolve along with the threats. Over the next several hours, the medical team worked to catalog and contain the biological weapons, while Alliance engineers secured the facility's data systems. What they discovered was both terrifying and illuminating. The Void Sector isn't just one species, Prince Zephyros reported during a briefing. It's a coalition of different races united by their hatred of the major galactic powers. They see biological warfare as the ultimate equalizer. And they were right, Dr. Kim added. If these weapons had been deployed simultaneously across the galaxy, they could have eliminated most spacefaring civilizations within months. But now we have their research, Emma said with excitement. And more importantly, we understand their methodology. We can use their own techniques to create universal countermeasures. The solution, when it came, was elegantly simple in concept, but incredibly complex in execution. Instead of trying to create specific treatments for each virus, they would develop adaptive medical programs that could analyze and counter any biological weapon in real time. It's essentially the same approach we used to save Prince Zephyros, Marcus explained to the assembled Alliance leadership. But instead of targeting one specific virus, we create a hunter program that can adapt to any biological weapon it encounters. The key insight came from studying how the enemy viruses evolved, Emma added. They follow predictable patterns based on their target species' biological markers. If we can create countermeasures that evolve faster than the viruses themselves, we can stay ahead of any future attacks. King Valdrath, who had arrived with reinforcements, listened to the briefing with evident pride. Once again, human ingenuity combined with dragon knowledge has provided solutions that neither species could have achieved alone. The project took 6 months to complete, with medical teams from across the galaxy contributing their expertise. The result was a network of adaptive medical stations that could be deployed throughout Alliance space, ready to respond to any biological threat within hours. The irony is beautiful, Emma commented as they watched the first station come online. Our enemies tried to use our diversity against us, but instead they forced us to work together in ways that made us stronger than ever. And what about the Void Sector? Prince Zephyros asked. Some of them have already requested to join the Alliance, Admiral Chen reported. It turns out that many of their species were only participating in the weapons program because they felt they had no other choice. Now that we've demonstrated we can defend against their ultimate weapons, they're more interested in cooperation than conflict. Marcus looked around the medical center, now expanded to include research facilities and training programs for dozens of species. His daughter had become one of the galaxy's leading experts in interspecies medicine, while still maintaining her childlike wonder at the diversity of life throughout the universe. "Do you ever miss cleaning?" Azareth asked him during a quiet moment. Marcus laughed. "Sometimes. It was simpler then, but I wouldn't trade this for anything. We've proven that the barriers between species aren't as solid as they seem. When beings work together instead of against each other, amazing things become possible." Outside the station's viewports, ships from a dozen different species moved in formation, no longer suspicious of each other but united in purpose. The galaxy still faced challenges and threats, but it now had something it had never possessed before: a proven method for turning diversity from a weakness into a strength. The Dragon King's sick child had indeed been saved, but in the process something much larger had been healed. The galaxy itself had learned that cooperation was more powerful than conquest, and that the most unlikely friendships could produce the most extraordinary results. Marcus Chen had started as a simple cleaner, but he had helped clean away centuries of mistrust and suspicion between species, and in doing so, he had given his daughter, and countless other children throughout the galaxy, a future where their differences would be celebrated rather than feared. The human spirit of ingenuity, combined with the wisdom and strength of their allies, had proven once again that there was no problem too complex for minds working together in common cause. It was, Marcus reflected, the most human story of all. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things when they refused to accept that something was impossible. And in the vast reaches of space, that spirit continued to grow and spread, one unlikely friendship at a time.